Hi book lovers, it's Jenny at Julia Baby Jen with my favorite monster books from 2016. Okay, so this year I made another new category. I did a monster category, monster/horror, because I read enough monster and zombie type books that I really liked. I just decided to make their own category this year. So I'm going to talk about those because who doesn't love zombie and monsters? At least I think it's so much fun. But anyway, these were my favorite monster reads of 2016. A Mad Zombie Party by Gina Showalter. This is the fourth and final book in the Alice in Zombieland series by Gina Showalter. And I really love this series. It's just so much fun. Solid 4-star reads all the way through. This was kind of a tacked on book. They had ended the trilogy and it kind of had a final conclusion ending, but then she decided there's a little more to the story. So in this world, we're following Allie Bell, which is short for, I think it is Allison Bell, but everybody calls her Allie. And she lives in a world where she learns pretty quickly that she has this paranormal ability to see these zombies. And these zombies are kind of not a zombie what you would think. It's like I said, it's a little more paranormal than that. They're invisible to everyone and they basically feed off of your soul. And so she has the ability to actually see these monsters, and she thinks she's kind of going crazy, and then she learns that there's actually people who fight these monsters. So she kind of gets caught up in that group. Basically, her parents and her little sister are killed in this car crash, and when she wakes up in the car crash, she's the only one alive, but she swears that she sees monsters eating her parents. And that's her first clue that something's wrong. And then she moves to this one place with her aunt who just loves her to death and is wonderful, but she gets end up with this crowd of people. And Cole is basically her boy toy. Basically the hot guy of the group, the leader, and he takes instant liking to her. And there's a lot of romance and love triangles and all kinds of stuff. It's very YA paranormal series, but it is so much fun. I just love this series. You can't take it too seriously. It is very heavy on romance. So if you're not a big romance person, you won't like it. But I really, really loved it. It also has, you know, an Alice in Wonderland vibe with it too. It's kind of like, it's not, I don't really want to call it a retelling. There's things in there that remind you of Alice in Wonderland, but it doesn't follow Alice in Wonderland that closely. So as far as an Alice in Wonderland retelling, this really isn't it. This is more zombie paranormal romance fun. So yeah, I really love this series, and this was a really great conclusion to the series. I really liked it because it really focuses more on, this focuses on Frosty, who is Cole's best friend, and what happens in the aftermath of the war is not good for him. So it's him moving on and learning, and we get to follow Frosty, and I was kind of excited to get to do that, to follow a new character. That was really fun. Then I have Dead of Night and Fall of Night by Jonathan Mayberry. These are adult reads, but it is a prequel duology series to the Betty Amara series, or the Rotten Ruin as a lot of people call it, which is a zombie series. So this is a futuristic world where zombies have taken over, basically. And the Rotten Ruin series follows this boy named Benny and his friends who live in this little settlement outpost in the California mountains trying to survive. And it's a 5-book series, I guess now. And it's really, really amazingly good. I love the series. So this is actually a prequel adult duology, and it is the actual events. It's called First Night is what they call it, when the zombies actually took over the world. So it's the events that happen, how First Night really happened, how this whole apocalypse actually happened. So this is the story on how it actually happens. And we're following this small town. Can't remember where it's at. It's like some small town in Ohio, I think. And basically it's because this serial killer is finally caught. He is sentenced to death, and he will be buried in an unmarked grave near the prison because it's such a famous case. No one wants people to desecrate the body in any way. Well, the surgeon, or the doctor who is administering the final drug to end his life, has been developing, or, well, I guess he didn't develop it, but he knows about it. This this drug or this virus that the government created that basically starts the zombie apocalypse, but it's kept under wraps, and this doctor knows about it, even though he hasn't worked for the government for years. He has a personal vendetta against serial killers because his little sister was killed by a serial killer, not this killer in the book. So instead of administering him the drug that would kill him, he administers this virus to him. And basically the virus is supposed to make it so he doesn't die, but that he will slowly decompose and be aware of himself decomposing while he's rotting in the grave. So he's thinking it's going to be a very fitting punishment for this evil serial killer. Well, things get complicated, and the body doesn't get buried in the prison. It ends up in this small town in Ohio in a funeral parlor. And so he reanimates into a zombie and creates havoc in this town. So this is how it all comes together. So it's a duology series about this little town trying to contain this virus, and it's incredibly good. I really loved it. It's so action-packed. It's great. Really good. Like I said, it's adult. It's very graphic. It's not a YA series, but it's amazing, and I really loved it. I read Horde by Anna Guire. This is the third and final book in the Razorland trilogy. This is a futuristic world which has been overtaken by basically zombies. They're called freaks, and this follows a girl named Deuce and her friends, and they're basically in this world trying to save these little settlements and things from these freaks who used to just act like dumb, basically animals, and are now creating their own army to overtake and get rid of, or to overtake these little settlements that are on the frontier. Basically, world has gone back to the old days because everything is, falling apart. So this is a futuristic world where there are these zombies running amok. It's really good. It's really dark. It's really creepy, and I really, really love this series, and this was a great conclusion to the trilogy. And then finally, I have The Savage Grace by Victoria Schwab. This is my very first Victoria Schwab book, and I loved it. This is also a futuristic society. There is a city that is divided. There's basically monsters running free. They have been created by violence from other people. And this follows Kate Harker and August Flynn, who each are children of the ruling families on opposite sides of the city. So the city's kind of divided. On the Flynn side, they're still trying to actually fight the monsters, and on Harker's side, he's made a deal with the monsters. And if people pay him enough money, they're included in his deal, and monsters won't attack those people. So he's very, very corrupt, kind of a mob boss mentality. Kate wants to be just like him, even though she's really not. Meanwhile, August actually is a monster, a very rare monster, but he wished he wasn't a monster. So basically, all of a sudden, they have this truce, and it's starting to fall apart. August and Kate meet. And are trying to save their city, and they're running for their lives, and there's been a traitor, and all kinds of stuff is going on. So it's just a really amazing story, but what's so great is the writing. It's so unique. I really, really loved it, and there's absolutely no romance at all in this book, and I really like that too. So this is just an amazing story. I really loved it. And those are my favorite monster books I read in 2016. Leave me any comments below if you've read any of those or want to talk about any of your favorite monster books ever. I love to talk about monster books. And I hope everyone has a good day. I will talk to you